So, Katinka, we've had some questions come through some of our social media platforms, our Facebook and our Instagram. So, from Michaela, she's saying, so much is out of control. It's not easy to see your loved one suffering. It takes a toll on your heart. How do you not lose yourself and remain supportive to your veteran? How do you take care of yourself while standing by and living with your veteran?
So it's really easy to lose yourself in someone else's pain. And for me, I think I had the benefit of working with other veterans and understanding their experience and translating that and being able to work with that to better understand Tom. So, I mean, I think one way you can not lose yourself is to talk to other people who are in the same situation. So talk to other spouses or other caretakers. That's one thing. And the other thing is I made sure that I always carved out a little time for myself. I mean, I was walking the dog and hiking. And one other way is that I think if you have to remain hopeful, right? This is a hard question. How do you not lose yourself? Because I totally lost myself. It's a really important question because I think so many people, they totally lose their self in the pain of their loved ones.
It almost seems like they're not valuing their own pain and their own experience in a way enough, where
It
they should.
is, it is totally that. And I mean, you bring up a really good point that it's easy to lose yourself in someone else's suffering if you don't validate and acknowledge your own experience and the pain that situation is bringing you or creating for yourself or for your kids. And I think that you have to figure this out on your own, right? You have to figure out what types of strategies you have. I mean, for some it is meditation or breathing practice. For others it is having a sport or a hobby that they can lose themselves in so they can forget, right? I mean, it's a way of living that isn't just completely wrapped up in someone else's world. I think that they're often socialized to take care of others and to put other people first. And so it can be really challenging to put your own needs first. And in my own experience, to voice those needs. And in a way, you can't be stoic when it comes to that, right? I mean, you have to talk to your veteran and say, look, I can't handle this anymore. I can't handle when you shut me out, when you lock yourself in the room or you just go to the basement. And, it's just a really difficult way to be in a relationship.
So, from Barbara, she's asking, Katinka, have you taken the breath course that seems to have helped Tom so much? My
Yeah.
parents both were World War II vets who saw more than you want to, suffered from PTSD. I realize this as their adult child. Meditation helped me forgive their sometimes strange behavior and appreciate that they survived very hard times.
I took the breath course with Tom um, mostly to support him because he wanted to become a meditation teacher. And I also wanted to understand his experience more. And it did help me. I practiced for a couple of years the breathing. And now I found a different type of meditation practice that works even better for me. Everyone has their different thing. Um, I think one of the main things that that really helped me, and I can relate to what you said about your parents and their strange behavior, and that, that you could sit with that better, or maybe even forgive that. And I think once you understand where people come from, and once you understand why they are the way they are and what experiences contributed to that, then what you term strange behaviors, and in my experience were hurtful behaviors, you are able to take them in a way that's less personal. So for a long time, I would take, Tom getting drunk or ignoring me or shutting me out as something very personal. But then as I was working with more and more veterans with moral injury, I realized that for some that was the only coping mechanism that they had, and that wasn't something that I should take personally.
Yeah. Yeah, as you're saying that, I'm also remembering Holly sharing very similar things about Anthony's behavior and understanding, okay, this isn't about me. It's hurtful to me, but it's
Yeah,
not an attack on me. It's just what he's dealing with on his own.
right. But then you have to go back to voicing your needs, because that's also no way to be in a relationship. I mean, you could be, again, very empathetic and compassionate and understand why someone is behaving a certain way, but um, that the hurtful part of that can eventually create some resentment. And so I think it's just so important, again, to be able to communicate.
From Anuradha, she says, as the daughter of a veteran, I wanted to believe my dad was a hero. I grew up romanticizing war, like many of the war movies, and then hating war. So, how is it for veterans and families of veterans when society is questioning the reasons for us being at war?
Yeah, I think that, we see that it's so very difficult because there really isn't that validation and acknowledgement coming from the communities. So not only are the veterans dealing with witnessing or taking part in actions that go against their ideals of right and wrong, they're also being judged by society and the communities they're coming home to that really have no idea what happened. And so, imagine how difficult it is for veterans when they've sacrificed so much and lost loved ones, and there is no political validation for those deaths and for those sacrifices, because Iraq is still the same way it was 15 years ago, And so there's this, and we have to be very careful with that, because there's this sense of hopelessness. Like, why did we do that? Why did we sacrifice all that? And nothing's changed. Imagine having to live with that. And then for the families, I think it can also be difficult, especially if family members didn't want their daughters and sons to enlist. But we also have to remember that people enlist for so many reasons, whether they're enlisting because of legacy, if they're enlisting because of patriotism, or they're enlisting for economic reasons, or they could be enlisting because they really truly feel that they are going to mitigate these social injustices that are happening in other countries. They really feel that they are spreading these ideals of democracy. And then to get there and to have those ideals shattered, and to realize that what you're doing really is not having an impact. I can't even imagine how difficult that is, to sit with that and how to reconcile that and how to move through it. I know with the veterans that I work with, the way that they move through that is through service, through community service. So if they have experienced, the overt social injustices that happened during their deployment and the abject poverty, all these things that they really couldn't do anything about. Some of my veterans, they feel some guilt and they feel some shame around that they didn't do enough. And so they come home and they might not be able to address that by going back to Iraq, right? But they can address those same moral issues by serving other communities in need and doing other types of service. I mean, we see that with organizations like Team Rubicon or Team Red, White, and Blue, where veterans really are benefiting from helping people in need. And I think that is because they know that they can't go back in country to make a change, but they can make a change here at home. So,
well, Katinka, thank you for spending this time with us and sharing all of your experience. And we'll put this up online, and then maybe when more questions will come. So hopefully you can stay engaged with us on social media to continue interacting with the audience.
Absolutely, I would love to.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Mm-hmm.